All right, how we doing, everybody? Excited to have everybody on here. My name is Brian Lewis. Excited to meet everybody here. I'm here with Stephanie Solomon and the main man, Brian Wright. And thanks for being here with us tonight. I know it's late. We're excited to have so many clients. We have a lot of our Right patient clients or WrightChat and our new patient group clients on with us tonight. And this is going to be fun. We got a lot of content to dive into. For those of you that aren't clients, thanks for being here. It's always great to have people that are interested in what we're doing and really learning how to revamp your practice and learning how to reimagine all these different things that you can do in your practice, whether it's your front office, whether it's creating this concierge experience. There's so many things that our clients are doing that are really leading the way in terms of forward thinking and helping practices grow and streamline their operations. So Brian's going to be on here in a second. If you guys have questions, please submit them on the Q&A function during the webinar. Brian's going to answer all the questions that come in at the end of the session. So we want this to be interactive, and so if you have any questions you want to answer, please submit those, and we'll make sure that Stephanie and I are going to be fielding all those to make sure that we ask Brian at the end. So again, with that being said, for those of you that aren't WrightChat users or aren't new patient group practice users, thank you for being here. We're doing a lot of things out there. You're going to learn a lot tonight. Hopefully you see some things that maybe spark your interest. I mean, as Brian's talking about, you're going to see a lot of really innovative things that practices are doing. Some really great names, some really big innovative doctors that are up there. If you're interested in learning more about what we do and how we might be able to help your practice, I mean, there's really been never been a better time. So reach out to us. We have a lot of new customer promos, a lot of new deals going on, and really we just want to make sure 2024 is your best year as a practice. So with that, I want to intro Brian Wright. He's a good friend of mine. He's an internationally renowned motivational speaker, a business coach. He's really leading the world, really leading the way in terms of speakers for orthodontics, dental, business coaching, all these sorts of different areas. He's proudly serves as our founder and CEO of New Patient Group, as well as WrightChat. A lot of you know him from the New Patient Group podcast, where he's constantly pumping out a lot of content to really bring a lot of value to practices. He's trusted consultant and speaker for some of the biggest names out there, from Align to Dental Monitoring, OrthoFi. He's really speaking for a lot of the big names out there. Henry Schein, and we just love having him on the team and really leading us to be successful with all of our practices. So he's also been on a lot of Benton Koppel resources. He's written for Dental Economics. You guys have seen him all over the place. But with that, we're really excited to have you. And again, submit some questions so we can answer them at the end for you. And I really hope you enjoy your time tonight. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brian Wright.
Prepare to attack. Prepare to attack on the count of 3. 1, 2. Wait! What happened? Where are they? I don't know, sir. They must have hyperjets on that thing. And what do we got on this thing? A Cuisinart? No, sir. We'll find them, catch them! Yes, sir! Prepare ship for light speed! No, light speed is too slow. Light speed too slow? Yes, we're gonna have to go right to ludicrous speed. Ludicrous speed? Sir, we've never gone that fast before. I don't know if the ship can take us. What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken? Prepare ship! Prepare ship for ludicrous speed! Give me that, you petty excuse for an officer! Now hear this! Ludicrous speed! Sir, had you better buckle up? Now buckle this! Ludicrous speed! Go! My brains are going into my have to slow down first. Bullshit! Just stop this thing! I order you! Stop!
Here, let me help you, sir.
Are you all right, sir?
Fine. How have you been?
Fine, sir.
Good.
It's a good thing you were wearing that helmet.
Yeah.
What should we do now, sir?
Well, are we stopped?
We're stopped, sir.
Good. Well, why don't we take a 5-minute break?
Very good, sir.
Smoke if you got 'em.
All the movie Spaceballs, you gotta love it. Hey everybody, welcome inside the broadcast booth. Brian right here. And you know, so many times in life as leaders of our organizations, if we feel we are not achieving the goals we want to achieve, we're not reaching the production, the collection, the new patient numbers, whatever it may be. Maybe our personal lives, employees out there, maybe you're not making the money you want to make in your career and it's affecting your personal life. Doctors out there, maybe you're having not so fun in your personal life. And the more we feel we're falling behind, the more quick, rash decisions we make with a very short-term mindset that actually sabotages our future success. And as you walk up this success ladder, I call it, the quicker the decisions you make that are short-term minded, the actual further away you are of achieving success. This happens so often too, is that as we're making these rash decisions, just like in Spaceballs, right? They're falling further behind. They go to ludicrous speed to catch up. And then after that, Lord Helmet just keeps making one bad decision after another. And all they're doing is falling further and further away. Many times, and it's not easy, and it's much easier coached, and it's much easier said than done. The little short-term victories, the focus that we have, making sure we're checking something off every week or checking a couple things off a year, you're actually moving much, much further. Psychology uses a 4-quadrant system, and the upper right-hand corner is called focusing with a purpose. There's not many people that actually focus with a purpose. Just because you're focused doesn't mean you're focused on the right things. But the reality is in this psychology, in this 4-quadrant system, so many of you out there, and just in general as business owners, you're distracted. And when we're distracted and we're worrying about the wrong things, inevitably we create indecision, meaning that an indecision is the enemy of progress, meaning all of you out there, you may want to start a weight loss program. What do? You bombard yourself with 80 different ways of doing it when all you have to do tomorrow morning is start doing 30 push-ups a day, and then the next week do 31, and the next week do 32 push-ups, and you're on your way. Meanwhile, everybody else is still trying to figure out what to do. Right? That's indecision. We do this with our businesses too. We get so indecisive, or we're indecisive on what to do that's actually going to help, but we make these quick decisions on we got to do pay-per-click ads, and we got to advertise, we have to do billboards, all the stuff that none of you need. And then inevitably this creates this detachment from your business. And this is how, and it's the worst place to be as a business owner, and employees listening out there, this is also the worst place you can be from how to advance your career. And detached people make rash, short-term decisions that absolutely sabotage the inevitable goals that they have to achieve. We have got to learn how to focus with a purpose. And we start telling ourselves these lies, right? And a lot of you do this. I've seen this, been in this industry many times, but it's not just you, it's business owners all over the world. We start telling ourselves these lies about why we're not succeeding, right? We start finishing stories of my production is down because of the down economy. That's a lie, everybody. We have new patient group practices are up 15% this year. We have several practices having their best year ever, and they don't spend a nickel on advertising, right? They focus on what's going inside their doors, and they're constantly reinventing themselves. That's how you do it. You know, I'm not losing weight because my metabolism is slow. You know, I'm not making the money I want to make because I didn't get to go to college. Like, these are all detached lies that we're telling ourselves. And inevitably, it looks like this, right? So a lot of people, and I'm obsessed with studying humans, and for years I've done it, and there's a difference between people that are successful and people that inevitably fail. And on the surface, you may say it's the conditions, right? It's the down economy. That's why we're failing. Slow metabolism, HR. I can't find millennials and Gen Z. They don't want to work. I can't find good employees. I grew up in poverty. That's why I'm not successful. Didn't get to go to college. I can't make money with clear aligners because the lab bill's too high. Remote monitoring, nobody wants it. I don't want to do it. Patient compliance in clear aligners is a disaster, so therefore I don't do it. Competition or price shoppers is why I'm failing. But the reality of the situation is none of those are the case. And I'm going to get back to that here in just a second. I want you to draw, if you're out there listening to this webinar, you can pause this and actually do this exercise. Just draw a tree. It doesn't have to be a tree that you're looking at on my screen. Just draw a tree. And I do this exercise with customers. I do this with audience members. And inevitably people draw the tree. I say, okay, everybody, show me your tree. And the one thing that is very, very rarely drawn is the roots. Even though the roots are the most critical part of the tree, it's the brain of the tree, feeds the tree. It's going to depend on how vibrant and successful that tree is in their growth process. But very few people draw the roots. And why? Well, the answer is pretty simple, is that you can see the tree, you can't see the roots. And this is how we are in our life. This is why we focus so much on our status in life. The type home we own, the car we drive, the clothes we wear, how much money we have, et cetera, et cetera. We do the same thing in our business, right? We see production. We see that on paper. We see collections. We see our profit. We see how many new customers or new patients. We see the number, the aligner bill lab fee that's drawn out of our bank account every month. We see our conversions. So what do we end up doing is we focus our attention on these things, even though they are uncontrollable. So you talk about what are the roots, the brains of your personal life. Well, it's your health. It's your freedom. It's the empathy you have for others. It's your love. It's your mindset. It's your work ethic. And I could go on and on and on, but those are the things that inevitably will determine how successful you are with the home and the cars and the clothes and all those things, right? But you can't control the tree, but you certainly can control the roots. Same in our business. This is the reality. Right? The culture that you create through exceptional leadership. What type of leader are you? The vision you have. And is that vision articulated to the team you have? What type of focus? What type of mindset? Your work ethic? Your overall sacrifice, your focus, your consistency, your obsession over getting better for your customer, your patient. What are you doing today that's a better patient experience than you did last week? That kind of thing. Being infinite-minded. Lost opportunities. Like, can you go beyond the paper and realize every month you're missing 3 new patient calls during regular business hours when you're fully staffed? Right? You have to be infinite-minded and realize what's on paper lies to you. And all of this off paper, these roots, this inevitably is what you have to focus on and always get better. And if you do, the conditions in your life or your business, they're not going to be as impactful as they are to other people in the down economy. That's why I'm down, etc. Right? So the things that on the tree, though, is what we end up focusing on, not the roots. And this is a problem. And one of the things that I see, I am very blessed to have the best named customers in this industry. Jet Pascal, Regina, Alyssa Carter, Stu Frost, Drew Ferris, Jamie Reynolds, Mark Olson, Donna Galante, Bob Skopak, Boyd Whitlock, John Graham, Jeff Hines, David Boschkin, Sean Carlson. And you look at this screen, you say, wow, that's an impressive customer list. And it is. Right? And it is because we focus on the roots, the things that we can control to be awesome as a company. Both with WrightChat and New Patient Group, is exactly the mindset these people have, and that's why they're attracted to our forward-thinking mindset. It's not about the tree. It's about constantly reinventing yourself and getting you better at the roots, as proven by this. Studying humans, right? On the surface, it's all the things on the left. That's why I'm suffering, when the reality is that look at the people on the right who are successful. They are succeeding in the same conditions as the people that are blaming those same conditions on their failures. And this is proven. You have so many times people are given everything. They have money, they get to go to college, etc., and they end up in some rehab program. Meanwhile, you've got people that grew up in poverty, in some of the poorest, most horrible. Oprah Winfrey is a perfect example. If you don't know her background, you should study it. If there was ever a human set up for failure, it's her. And she's one of the most influential people in the world. I'm pretty sure a billionaire, right? But she grew up in poverty, lack of education, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not about the conditions. It's inevitably about the decisions you make. And this is a perfect example. If your practice looks like this, these are decisions you are making. Too many braces. You are doing all the admin responsibilities inside your office. And this is creating an outdated business model that does not have to be like this anymore. This is what we teach. What you are looking at is the future of orthodontics, almost to where you look like you're going out of business inside your practice. That is my goal for all of you, is to outsource every non-clinical thing in your office to where you create a streamlined, completely digital workflow from A to Z, and you let experts handle the phone call, the remote monitoring of patients, et cetera, et cetera. The outsource model is the future of this industry, and where WrightChat is stepping in is the front desk and reimagining it. Where New Patient Group steps in is the whole picture from A to Z. All right, and welcome everybody to part 1 of Unlocking the Future of Orthodontic Practices. How to transform your receptionist is what we're going to be talking about tonight, from a data collector into the ultimate conversion machine. I am excited to announce a brand new offering we have as New Patient Group, and it's MPG Iconic. That is a 2-day full team and doctor workshop here in Colorado Springs, where I'm coming to you from tonight. And I cannot wait to open that up to the public. We have one January 2024 is our first one. That's going to be a customer event. We got our customers and team members coming in, and we're going to unlock that in the future, and we're going to open that up as a service that you can bring your team in for a transformational business and life coaching event, training event, digital marketing event that will be the best, most unbelievable event you can ever be to in orthodontics, and I cannot wait for you all to join that. More information on that later. So let's get rolling. You have 2 jars of yogurt, and you're health conscious. You go to the store, and looking at these jars of yogurt on the store shelf, you're looking at 2 of the exact same thing, right? Ingredients, the container, everything looks the same. And one of them is being advertised as contains 10% fat. The one on the right next to it on the shelf, says 90% fat-free. Ask yourself, which one of these would you choose? If you happen to be watching this with your team, hit the pause button and kind of go around the room here and see what you would say. And everybody always says 90% fat-free. If I was in front of the audience, I could see your hands right now. Everybody would agree that 90% fat-free is the way to go. But it's the same yogurt. Now, why you choose the 90% fat-free is the framing effect. And all of you as orthodontists, you have a framing problem. And I'm going to get to more of that tonight as it relates to the phone call. Now, what is the framing effect? Well, inevitably, it's getting people to draw different conclusions based on the same information. A little bit more advanced is a cognitive bias where people decide on options based on how they're presented, right? So you can take the exact same thing on the surface, present it differently, and have a different result, okay? And I have a really good podcast around the framing effect that if you just scan that QR code, it'll open up that podcast that dives a lot more into it. And the framing effect is such a powerful, powerful way for all of you to dominate. Long time ago, Big Saloon Study is actually a very popular, well-known study that goes into the framing effect. There was this nail salon, and they were trying to sell more memberships and include, you get all these goodies that come, and they were trying to sell it for $1,068 a year, and they were not having success. So they say to themselves, how do we increase our membership? By presenting it a different way. They changed it to $99 a month. And guess what, everybody? Boom, their membership skyrocketed. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this, but the really cool thing is the $99 is actually $120 more expensive than the one they could not sell. And this is such a great example for all of you, from how you do your digital marketing, leaders out there, how you speak to your team, receptionists, how you speak on the call, what happens when that call's over, et cetera, on down the list. I'm going to show you a visual of what that looks like here in a second. If you want to get what you want and at a higher dollar, you all have to learn how to present differently, which means you must get taught by experts in those things and look outside your own industry. Now, looking at a visual, and this is what New Patient Group is all about, is every single consumer interaction leading up the sale and after that in their existing patient experience journey. That's what New Patient Group is. It's a transformative company. And I show this because every one of these is a chapter in your book. If you're reading a book, what happens when chapter 1 is really amazing? You think you're going to go to chapter 2? Heck yeah, you're going to go to chapter 2. And if chapter 2 is kind of, it's okay, a lot of times chapter 1 makes up for that and you go to chapter 3. But if chapter 3 is not so good, and are you going to go to chapter 4? You may or may not after going through two bad chapters. The goal is every one of these chapters that you see has to be exceptional, unexpected, unique, convenient, et cetera, along this journey. And if it is, you will be able to charge the highest price of all of your competition, air quotes again, and your conversion will be higher than it ever has been before. Let's start with business mindset, which we already have, right? Business mindset includes culture, leadership. Are you an entrepreneur, business owner? Are you a forward thinker, et cetera, includes all that. And that's what we hit on first today, because the new patient call, if you are not mindset ready, you are still a practice that uses the receptionist as a data collector. Your name, your dentist information, have you been to one lately? Can we have your x-rays, your address? This is how receptionists speak. We do thousands of mystery calls with New Patient Group, and I bring tons of people up on stage, and receptionists respond the same way to the same situations, meaning that as people shop, which they are, they're calling upwards of 5 practices, scheduling at 3, showing up to 3 before they make a decision. Your receptionist is in a full-fledged sales role, as we're going to discuss tonight. Power of persuasion. This is something very powerful for all of you to know. And the power of persuasion in your world comes all the way up to when they walk through your doors, okay? So once they walk through your doors, you're in persuasion mode. Right now, we're in persuasion mode. Persuasion is one of the most powerful sales tools you have at your disposal. Yes, I said it, the dirty word, because I don't hide behind it anymore. If you're a practice that shies away from the reality is that you have to sell why you're better than other people, you probably should turn me off right now, because that's what I teach. You live in a world that has become commoditized, and you better learn how to make it a better experience for yourself as the owner, your team, and inevitably your customer. And that is a salesmanship choreographed process from A to Z. And the power of persuasion all happens to create this right here is inevitably how to get them to be loyal and empathetic to you before they really experience your brand. It is insanely powerful, and we're going to talk about how to do it with your receptionist right now. Step 1, your receptionist has got to get people to schedule. So what we're talking about are the 8 essential responsibilities of a great receptionist in the new economy. Right, so number 1, getting people to schedule. You may say, duh, Brian, thanks for that obvious information. Bye. Well, let me talk to you about this for just a second. The reality is because people are shopping, just because you answer the phone doesn't mean that person intended to schedule. It could be, how much you charge for Invisalign? Do you take my insurance? I've been shopping around. We went to 2 practices 6 months ago. We don't know how we feel about this. Can you tell me more about braces or clear aligners? How your receptionist handles that totally depends on your commitment to role-playing with them on a weekly basis. Weekly basis, yeah. Customer service and sales is infinite. I love when people say, well, I trained my receptionist on hospitality for a while. How long? Well, about a month. It makes me laugh. That's not training. Training is an infinite ongoing. You imagine an athlete. How long did you train for? Well, I worked on it for about 3 months, and then I was good. I never needed anything again. No. Athletes train forever, and so should your people. We have an unrelentless commitment to training the people at WrightChat. It is a commitment that we have because I am obsessed with giving customers an experience that they will not have from any other company. And the reality is our agents are better than anybody in this industry, but it's because of our culture, remember, business mindset, and it's because of our commitment to training and getting people to schedule at a higher rate than the orthodontic industry average. The next one, remember, we're talking about the 8 job roles of your receptionist, right? Nowhere in here is it collect the data. Of course, that's part of their job, but that's not what the role is. The role is a salesmanship role. Part 2, get people to complete paperwork accurately and early. Yes, if you have a new patient paperwork completion problem, the first and foremost issue you have is a receptionist problem. People think paperwork is a joke because it has been in every practice, dermatologist, GP, plastic surgery, my other 5 orthodontic opinions. It is a joke. Nobody looks at it. And if you do look at it, you don't communicate to the patient you've looked at it. What happens? Receptionist asks 1,000 questions. Then they walk in, then they get sent paperwork that asks the same questions. If you're in a people business, why aren't you filling out what you already learned for them prior to sending them the paperwork? That's a people business. 3, they come in, you ask the same questions. Total waste of time until your receptionist sells them on why you're different, right? If you have other new patient paperwork problems, it's probably because you're not all digital. You cannot send things to people they have to print out. It cannot be a clipboard when they walk in. You must be fully digital. Get people to show up. Yes, if you have a no-show, that is primarily because your receptionist is incapable of getting them excited. I'll talk more about that later. Selling them on the value of showing up, selling them why you're better, selling them why your technologies are better and worth coming to see, et cetera, why your team's better, why your doctor's better. 4, getting people psychologically prepared to buy. Yes, receptionist. One of your number 1 goals and responsibilities of having that person show up to the door already ready to buy from you. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to, meaning if I walk in and I sit down for 10 minutes or nothing inside your doors is unique outside of you being maybe nicer. Nicer is one ingredient of 1,000 ingredients to the customer experience puzzle, the customer experience recipe, if you will. All right. But you sure well can get them ready to go prior to coming in. But everybody out there, once they come in, this story's got to continue. 5, overcome objections prior to them happening. I'm going to save the explanation to what you're going to see tonight. I'm going to go over that tonight. Create opportunities that otherwise wouldn't happen. We're going to go over that tonight as well. Get people excited about starting treatment with you. Now, that could technically go into number 4, right? Because as you get them excited, they're going to buy from you, or they're more likely to buy from you. That also could go into number 3, is if they're excited, they're more likely to show up. Number 8, get them to write a 5-star review about your practice. Now, this does not mean you're going to say, Mrs. Jones, thanks for scheduling. Go write a 5-star review, okay? It's not what it means, all right? What this means is that you're so memorable, so unique, so exciteful, so passionate, so kind, so hospitable that they feel obligated to go and write one. And yes, our practices, a lot of practices out there, guess what? You have a tough time getting 5-star reviews from people that have already bought from you and finished treatment, right? We're getting 5-star reviews for practices prior to them even arriving to your door because of how good our WrightChat agents are on the phone answering your new patient calls. All right, so tonight we're going to go over number 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, so the rest of these, can't go over all of them on one webinar. We may go on a future webinar, but tonight we're going to hit on those 4 core principles right there that I just talked about. Now, how do we use the new patient call? And this is something all of you have to remember. Every single thing you see on that screen is not an individual thing, meaning you've been lied to as a profession, meaning you hear all the time, I have great conversion. Oh, what is your TC doing? Or I have bad conversion. You need TC help. It's bull, everybody. Can the TCs always improve? Yes, everybody can. I can improve. You can improve. Everybody can improve, right? But the TC is not always the issue for the conversion problem. It could be your receptionist, how your digital marketing is, what happens after the call and before they show up, how are you greeting people the moment they walk through the door. All of these things choreographed together make a business great, and that's why New Patient Group exists, right? Teaching you how to create a consumer choreographed journey A through Z is hard. But baby, when you have it together, there is nothing easier from a business perspective to grow and be less chaotic at the same time than this. So tonight, let's look at how can we make the receptionist work in conjunction to make the TC's job easier in the exam process. Really great podcast I did that dives in right around the five ways your receptionist is your new treatment coordinator. That QR code goes into that. Scan that. I'll give you a quick second. If you scan that, again, if you're already a New Patient Group podcast listener, if you're already a WrightChat family member, New Patient Group family member listening, hello to all of you. I love you all. Thank you for your support, your kindness, for being a fan, referring to us. Love it so much. If you're not, go to the New Patient Group podcast and start listening. You know, that's one of the reasons we have content out there, because if you listen to it and you're like, this guy's a clown, probably don't want to use either one of my companies. If you listen to it and you're like, this is exactly what I've been trying to articulate myself, this is great, you should be a customer of both companies, okay? So moving on, the very first one that's not included in those 4 that I just talked about is the missed new patient calls. I'm going to explain something to everybody here, and this is the roots of your organization, right? Every one of you on here that's a non-WrightChat customer, you are missing opportunities every month. Yes, before you're open at lunch and at night. But the main ones is when you're fully staffed during the regular business hours, that's when you're missing them. It's hard to believe because you can't see that in your tree data sheet because it's the roots, right? You focus on what you can see. Meanwhile, what you can't see is what inevitably is holding you back. WrightChat was created 3 years ago as I stand today doing this webinar. And it was there was many reasons, but one of them was with New Patient Group, when you do phone training with us and we're training your people, you know, we make a mystery call every month, record it and use it for coaching purposes, accountability, etc. And we were having to call 3 times on average during normal, regular business hours before practices would answer. 3 times. And new patients are not going to do that. So WrightChat was born. Now you look in the right with these pictures, this is what a lot of you look like. Like you're in the mindset of in-house retainers is cheaper. No, it's not. There's a human required. It's reactive. That human that makes your retainers should be on the phone with pending treatment, should be greeting people the moment they walk through the door. They should be fully customer service oriented, and you should outsource the retainers to Vivera or somebody that you trust. The idea that it's cheaper is because what you see on paper, the tree, looks cheaper. But what you don't see is HR, hiring, training, what happens when they leave, what happens if they don't fit into the culture, what happens they do fit into the culture, but Nancy, your assistant, doesn't like her, and now they're at odds. And this is why you're chaotic. Your admin duties are all up at the front desk. You're trying to do everything yourself. Your waiting room is packed. Your clinic is packed because your brace is heavy, et cetera, et cetera. This is why you miss opportunities all day long. But again, the infinite minded, the forward thinking, that is our customer, period. Because these are things that you don't see. Right? But you feel them every single day, but you don't see them. And all you have to do is pay attention to your daily life. Kristen and I needed a plumber a long time ago. It wasn't an emergency, but we needed one. There was a slow leak. We called this is during regular business hours. We called the first one, no answer. Second one, no answer. Third one, answered, got the business. We were going to do wood floors. We ended up not doing them, but we were going to do the wood floors. Call wood floor company number 1. Nobody answered. 2. Nobody answered. 3 answered. We went into their showroom floor. Like I said, we ended up not buying, but they almost got the business. My dog, Winston, handsome dude. My kid, Braden, sitting behind him there, accidentally hit him in the head with a metal baseball bat, swinging the bat. Winston came up from behind him. What happened? Crushed his skull. It was a bad deal during regular business hours. Vet 1, nobody answered. Vet 2, nobody answered. Vet 3 answered, got the business. They were great. My wife still refers to them. Up until we just moved to Colorado Springs from Houston a few months ago. Right? This happens in your daily life. All of you can relate to calling somewhere where you wanted to buy. You were truly interested, and they did not answer. This is happening to all of you. Act on it. Patient, consumer, Invisalign commercial. They hit the doctor locator. They go to Google. They go to YouTube. What happens? If they call you and you don't answer, they are not calling back. Now, that's why answering services are completely obsolete. They had their time in the sun, but because you're in a world now where it's a sales world, everybody, you miss an opportunity. They are going to go somewhere else and give them a chance. They are not leaving a voicemail. And let's say they do, the 1 out of 1,000, it's still a bad. Why would you want your brand to be represented that way like everybody else? You got to answer your phones. Trivia question for you. When does your practice miss the most new patient calls? Early morning before you're open, middle of the day at lunch, evenings after you're closed, or none of the above? Give you 1 second to answer that. All right, 1, 2, 3. And okay, those are your 3 seconds to answer that. And the answer is none of the above. It is 100% when you're fully staffed. We have the data, and I know it's hard to believe, everybody, but the reality is it's happening to you because of what I showed you earlier. This is what a lot of you look like. And when you look like this, your customer, you being a people business, which you are, this is not a people business, everybody. A people business does not look like this. Okay, we are in this world, in your orthodontic industry, to completely reimagine every consumer interaction you have from A to Z that I showed you. And we have the proof. Look, WrightChat answers, speaks as your own team member, remotes into your software, schedules them the way you want to according to your protocol. And we answer and schedule for 3 to 5 new patients a month. We're getting practices during regular business hours. This doesn't even include the ones we schedule after hours, but those are few and far between. We are adding 3 to 5 new patients a month for practices that average 30 new patients. We take them to 33 to 35 overnight just by grabbing what they're missing. And if you look at this from a lost revenue saved, look at the numbers, everybody. This is why the roots of your organization is imperative. You just added, look, just 3 to 5 in a month saves you $18,000 to $30,000 a month that we just hand you and say, okay, go close them, right? 18 to 30. Now I'm using a $6,000 average case fee, so you can do the math, whatever yours. Yours could be 7 or 8. It could be 3, 4, or 5. Right? That's $216 to $360 a year and upwards of $3.6 million a decade of revenue that we are giving you to go close just by answering the phones. Plug the leaky hole, everybody. Those of you who know me well, I am obsessed with giving value. I want you to think I'm the best speaker of all time. I work really hard at it. I want to change your life. But I also want you to act. And you need to give this company, my company, WrightChat, a chance to show you how much you're losing. Second one, overcoming objections prior to them happening. I didn't go in depth about this when I was going through the 8 steps or the 8 essentials to the job roles of the receptionist. But now we're going to talk about this. One of the objections that the TCs get a lot is what? I say it with me. I need to speak with my spouse. All right. Hopefully everybody spoke along with me out there. It's a big one. So you say to yourself, and in the objection handling world, overcoming objections prior to them coming up is always the best way to start, right? Because you go into this you kind of become the car salesman if you wait to, mom says, I don't think my kid's going to wear the aligners, right? Well, data shows that kids actually wear aligners better than adults. Right? And if your practice knows how to coach people and you're offering unique things after they buy, they'll be compliant. So if that's the case, you've got to bring those up prior to the mom even bringing up her objection. Just like this. How can we reduce people saying, let me speak to my spouse by using unique receptionist verbiage? Well, here you go. Mrs. Jones, we are so happy to invite any other decision makers involved with Joey's treatment to his appointment. Would you prefer them to join you for the appointment at our office? Or would you like me to send you some Zoom details? Or we can do a FaceTime. Which would you prefer? Boom. Okay. And that is how we help how the receptionist helps the TC. So you say to yourself, this seems easy. And you're right. And what I decided to do tonight is give you some scripting where you can go back and implement it right away. There's a lot of things with the phones, like our commitment to training the WrightChat agents. Every agent role plays an hour a week, and they will for their 50-year existence in our company. Why? That's how you get people great. That's how you give you all, the customer and your patients, exceptional experiences that they are not going to get calling anywhere else. Right? So this right here, you could put right by the phone, start today, start tomorrow. Right? You should still practice this and get it comfortable. But this is something you could script out and read verbatim. Is it going to work every time? Of course not. But again, it goes back to playing the numbers. You answer 2 or 3 more missed new patient calls and get them scheduled. You increase your conversion 5%. You get 20% of more people that show up. You get less objections. If you just play the numbers game, guys, there is 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 plus thousands of dollars of lost money that's happening to all of you out there. But you, from a business mindset, remember, first step of the journey, keep thinking that the down economy, COVID, competition, price shoppers, et cetera, is the problem. It's not the problem. You're the problem. And I'm happy to be one of the only speakers in this industry that is willing to tell you all the truth. If you aren't achieving your goals, if you aren't achieving everything you want to achieve, employees, if you aren't making the money you want to make, doctors, if you aren't making the money you want to make, if your business is chaotic, all of that is decisions that you are making that inevitably are creating the conditions that you are in. You've got to get better. You've got to get better. Second one, creating opportunities that otherwise probably wouldn't present itself. Again, another one that's the roots. These opportunities showcase every day, but it's just like referrals. If you say to yourself, you know what, it would be really great if we got more patients to refer, right? There's your tree, right? You can see that now. Okay, right now, last year, we got 100 is an example, okay? You can fill in the blank with wherever you are. That's the tree. You can see that. The roots is enhancing your customer experience, your patient experience, training your team by experts on hospitality, verbiage, presentation, etc., and also teaching your people how to ask, how to interact, when to ask. That's the roots. You can't see or feel those opportunities being lost every day, so therefore, once again, you don't focus on them. That's where your focus has to be. And this is another one, creating opportunities. Mrs. Jones, we see patients as young as 7. Matter of fact, it's very critical these days to get patients or to see patients, at 7 years old. Sets a good foundation, really sets a beautiful mouth for life. We love kids to see kids early as 7. Does Braden have any brothers or sisters that would like to join him for his appointment? Bam. What did you do? You just created a 2-for-1 opportunity. You took a brother, Braden, maybe as a sister that's 7, maybe as a sister that's 8 or 9. The other day, our WrightChat agents answering for the great Dr. Jamie Reynolds, founder of OrthoFi, we answered and we asked this question, and the brother had 2 sisters. So it was a 3-for-1. Now they took a 1 new patient, they turned them into 3, all by the receptionist creating opportunities that wouldn't otherwise happen. You're not going to get that mom go, hey, can I bring my 7-year-old in too? Why? Well, when mom was a kid, orthodontists didn't see people as young as 7. Like this in the scheme of things is a very new thing if you look at it as compared to over the course of the history timeline. And people don't know. By the way, you should have YouTube content about it, social media posts about it. You should build a brand around seeing people when they're younger. And if you do, that's how digital marketing creates those opportunities for you. Now your receptionist is creating an opportunity that otherwise would not exist. Again, another one, script it, put it by your phones, immediately start asking whenever you're scheduling that patient. Now, getting them psychologically prepared to buy. This is one of my most favorite things because, this is all these things that I'm talking about is very in-depth training. And like I said, I wanted to give you things you could immediately go back and see an impact in your practice without hours and hours of extensive training that new patient group can provide. Now, getting them psychologically prepared, it should be a fun one, right? Now, how can we take the TC exam, make it 5 minutes less? How can we, go through, or maybe they say, let me think about it, but how do you get them back through your doors to buy quicker? Like, this is all about doing a little bit more effort now to inevitably save so much time down the road. And it's this, right? Again, the roots of your organization. Mrs. Jones, we know that you are busy. Your time is valuable. And I want you to know that we as an office, we very much respect your time and all of our patients' time. It means a lot to us. Now, I'm going to talk to you guys. I'm off script now. I'm talking back to the audience here. When the heck have you ever called any business in your life and had a receptionist talk to you that way? And the answer is probably never. This is another reason you do it. It's not because of the sale. It's because you are a people business first. Your job first is hospitality. It's not to set up the tray or clean the sterilization room. It's to bring water and make a cup of coffee. That's job number one. Right? This is the switch in orthodontics. This is the future. You are a people business Ritz-Carlton first that happens to offer a hotel room. Now, the hotel room's still got to be great, so it's not diminishing your clinical results, but again, you are selling to a non-clinical human. They are going to pick apart all of your non-clinical things throughout the journey, before they buy, after they buy, all of those things. So back on script, I'm going to start over. Mrs. Jones, your time is very valuable. We respect it, and we know you're busy. Therefore, our patients really enjoy, they really love that we offer the convenience of being able to start treatment at your very first appointment, okay? So boom, what did we do? We just increased our same-day starts simply by educating people that their time is respected, we're convenient, you can get going at your very first appointment. Now, don't overthink this, right? This is the same-day financial contract. You should always strive to put braces on that same day, or get the aligners delivered, or ordered that same day. Of course you should. But this is mainly around a signed financial contract, all right? Impactful. Look, 3 things we've talked about so far, and more if you want to include the business mindset. But the reality is these are so simple, but they're so impactful, and there's so many psychological terminologies embedded in so far these 3 paragraphs of things that I've taught you. Now, get them excited about your office. Here's the reality, back to the framing effect that I've been teaching you all night, really. The reality of the situation is a lot of times receptionists bore people to tears. And they do it by doing the same thing that the other receptionists are doing. You got to stop, everybody. If the practice they called before asked 30 questions, you better be asking 3. Right? If the practice before collected 80 million items of data, you better be collecting a few, right? And the reality is all you need is their name, cell, email, and insurance. That's it. You all are so clinically in your head about, we need address, where their dentist is, we need all kinds of information on their mouth. You get so clinical that you forget that you are a people business. That's what you are. And if you like to know their dentist, that's not being a people business. You have to say to yourself, do you think the patient wants to spend 80 hours on the phone with us answering questions that we're going to ask them in the paperwork anyway? And the reality is anything outside of a couple things that you're going to ask in the paperwork, you better not make them repeat themselves on the phones. Your job is to get them excited. Edification, bragging, verbiage, presentation, psychology, salesmanship, etc. And this is one way you do it. Mrs. Jones, we have this amazing technology. It's so cool, and I can't wait for you to see it. And with this technology, what you're going to actually get to see is a 3D rendering of what your smile is going to look like when you're done with treatment. It is awesome. Our patients get so excited when they see their smile, and I know you're going to get excited too, because when Dr. Jones is finished with you, oh my God, you're going to love it. Okay, what receptionist talks that way? And again, the answer is nobody. This is how you separate. Now, internally, yes, you better be scanning everybody with the iTero machine. Well, Brian, I don't like the outcome. That's perfect. Because that's when you say, Mrs. Jones, this outcome, this is more like an arcade game. It's cool technology, but really your real investment, it's in the doctor and our clinical team. There's so many different things they do behind the scenes to make this from an arcade game to real life scenario play out for your perfect smile. You just have to know how to handle it. Right? You've got to scan. Unbelievable that so many of you don't scan. And then when you don't scan, what do they have to do in pending treatment? They got to come back to your office. That's an extra appointment for you, extra appointment for them. That inconvenience will cause you starts. It will cost you starts, absolutely. You've got to use the iTero machine in your digital marketing content. You've got to do YouTube videos about it. You've got to do virtual welcome tour videos that go out to patients about it. You've got to showcase it in your office. It is a sales tool, not a records machine. Look, I believe everybody out there has an extremely bright future ahead. But here's the deal. Sometimes when we have the opportunity to have a time machine, what do? We wish we could go back in time, right? What does the orthodontic industry do? It talks about, corporations and competition and price shoppers. And if I could just go back in time and how it could be, back in the day, right? I could just be a great clinician. Everything fell into place, which those days, unfortunately, they are over. Right? We use this time machine to go back in time and maybe change decisions we've made. But let me tell all of you something. Your past does not define you. Your comeback does. The real innovators, the real entrepreneurs that change industries, the forward-thinking customers that I showed you earlier that trust WrightChat and or New Patient Group, the reality is they use time machines to look ahead. Right? They learn from their past. But they realize that's the past. Their comeback, what they're really all about, is what's going to happen tomorrow, etc. And tomorrow, etc., for all of you is a people business first, a less chaotic office, having more fun, being the clinician, having a small team of rock stars and outsourcing the rest. That's the future, everybody, is a people business first, and we are here to help make that happen. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be doing an ongoing series. Like I said, this is just part one. We're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5, and ongoing throughout 2024 and beyond. Let New Patient Group and or WrightChat transform the way you do things. It doesn't have to be as hard as so many of you out there make it. We are here to help. I hope you enjoyed this webinar and hope you coming back for part 2. Again, thank you to the WrightChat New Patient Group family, my podcast listeners out there. If you're none of the above, thank you to you too. And I look forward to the future and helping you all. Bye-bye and have a great night.
Great job, Brian. This was awesome. Again, thanks for everybody for staying on late tonight. So one of the questions that we get a lot is that, I want to do all these things, Brian. This is great. I mean, all these things you're talking about are awesome, but a lot of turnover in the past in my front office, or I've had challenges with, I have a rock star there, but I want to start, putting her into different things, and it's hard to hire the right people. Hiring has been a challenge for the past couple of years. So how do I, either to focus on to create that best in class first impression, or customer experience when that role has always been a challenge for me? Or what are some tips or tricks in terms of kind of realigning roles or responsibilities? Like, how can I create this experience when this has been a challenge for me, and not just finding the right teammates, but also being maybe short staffed or not having the right people in the role in general?
I think the answer, very simple, is all of you need to learn how to outsource. So if there's employees on tonight, this is not intended to say, hey, you fire you. It's not what it is whatsoever. But business owners, you've all experienced I hired Janice. She was fantastic, but then she left. Oh, crap. What do we do? Or I hired Bobby. He wanted to be fantastic, but he just wasn't smart enough. But, and he left. And then I hired Susie, and she just didn't care. Like, those are the 3 scenarios. So what you have to start doing is looking at outsource partners as your employees. Like, as an example, and those of you who are on tonight who know me, I'm not worried about this, but if this is the first time you've met me, quote unquote, this is not to be a sales pitch, but as an example, WrightChat can answer all your new patient calls, and you never have to worry about this again. And then your front desk, you turn into a concierge, meet and greet, welcome tour, bottles of water, 5-star reviews. And you plug and play the outsource partners, whether it be an OrthoFi, remote monitoring, WrightChat, whatever it may be, you use those as your employees to end the chaos. And as you outsource, that's how you become a people business, because the admin responsibilities keep you distracted and keep you in this repetitive, chaotic mode all of the time. And it's always going to be that way. It'll never end. We've had customers with New Patient Group for all 11 years in our existence, and they view us as their outsourced training division because there's always turnover. So it's like every month we keep on going with the training. You've got to outsource. That's the solution, because it'll never end. There always will be turnover unless you outsource that position.
And this is kind of actually, you kind of hit on some of this, but one question we got to is, we trained on phone etiquette in October or November. But I noticed that my team just goes back doing what they were doing before, right? So what about, how do I create the buy-in, or how do I commit to change that I don't have to micromanage my team, but I know that, what are some things that they can do
to create, maybe it's whether it's comfort, feeling comfortable with doing new things. What can they do maybe that creates that change where you don't revert back to the mean and go back to doing what was easy and what they were doing before, prior to spending all this money doing training and time, energy doing training?
Obsessing over your customers never ends. It's an infinite world. So training is not something that you ever stop. There is no finish line to phone training. There is no finish line to training your TC. There's no finish line to customer service. Those are an ongoing pursuit of excellence. And it's a combination of training around things you're already great at and also training on new things all the time. So for all of you listening, a huge hole in all of your boats from a training perspective is role plays. Training doesn't exist without role play. And that's what we do with New Patient Group. That's what our iconic event is going to be, is putting employees in the most difficult positions of their lives, doctors too, to get the best of your abilities and move your skill sets forward. You can't say you trained around hospitality with phones and then you stopped. You never stop. And that is an hour or 2 hours blocked every single week on your calendar to work on your business and train people. If your excuse is I'm not scanning people with the iTero because my team doesn't know how, well, it's because you never train on it. So you train on it and you role play. And every single week you make sure they get better and you make them role play again and again and again and again. And this is how the finest institutions do it. But everybody has an excuse why they don't. And if you're a people business, like you all claim to be, customer obsession always comes first. Do you clean up a tray or do you make somebody a cup of coffee? You make somebody a cup of coffee. But the reason it doesn't happen in your office that way is nowhere in any of your job descriptions does it say hospitality, customer service, sales, et cetera, et cetera. The job descriptions are all clinical. You're going to answer the phones. You're going to assist the chairs, the doctor chair side. So a lot of it's a revamp of the job descriptions, et cetera. So that's a long answer to somewhat of a short question, is the training never ends. It can't end.
Absolutely. I love that. What if you were going to focus on really, one thing you think going into the new year, right? And if you're a practice, there's a lot of different areas that you might want to work on, right? Maybe it's increasing your, conversion rate. But it's best to, you're never going to solve all your problems at night. You can do kind of little things. What would you say, is the number one thing going into a year? You'd say, okay, I'm going to sit down with this team. This is where, no matter what, obviously it's a generalization for a lot of practices that you see every day, but what would that area be that you would really focus on that you think is a game changer for the majority of practices out there?
What we just talked about, the phones, everybody, is the largest lost opportunity cost for small business owners, and it's not even close. The phones is always where you start. The no-shows happen because of the phones. The paperwork not getting filled out is because of the phones. Missed calls. You literally could grow $300,000 next year without doing anything different other than training on your phones. But it can't be please and thank you training. Like, that's part of it. Like, being nice is part of it. But it's turning your phones into a sales machine. That's what we teach. And the sales world scares people, but I got to tell everybody, like, I used to hide behind the word, but somebody can put in the chat and tell me, maybe I don't know, is that if I'm calling 5 places and I'm visiting 3 places and you all offer kind of the same thing on the surface and you're trying to get me to buy from you at higher dollar, what other word is that to describe it? You're in sales. You are now welcomed to the world that every business outside of your world has lived in for years, because there's an option on every corner. And that means that you have got to become incredible at all the things that a lot of entrepreneurs are good at, is the non-clinical stuff. And I think you should start with the phones, because just like I just said, I guarantee you in this audience, that WrightChat answers 1 to 2 new patient calls at minimum every month next year for you, and gives you 24 more opportunities plus, just by answering calls that you're currently missing. Then you take your receptionist and add the phone verbiage that I just gave you. You're going to add another 50 new patients next year, because brother is now coming with sister, right? So just right there. And then the no-shows. all of you have a no-show problem. You all have 2 or more every month. And the ones I have found that think that they don't have a no-show problem, they have it the worst, but they don't pay attention to it. So if you train the phones around how to lower your no-shows, now you also have 30 more new patients that walk through the door than you did this year, just because your no-shows are less. So that's the focus.
And Brian, we have another great question from one of our attendees. They want to know that what if they are being trained to become a data collector? When is the best time to collect the data?
Well, so that would be step 5, I think, of our script right in there. Is sure, you got to get the data, but the only data you need is name, cell phone number, email, and their insurance. This whole thing that all of you are in, if you're in a people business, this whole thing of, well, they've got to be to a dentist in the last 6 months, and we need all that information. You don't need any of it. Your job is to sell them why you're the best. So the data collection should be short, quick. That should be the quickest, shortest part of the whole call. But for all of you out there, the way you've always functioned is address, dentist, your dentist's information, all of this stuff. And you aren't moving your needle by doing it. It's just like making confirmation calls to try to make sure new patients are showing up. It is a total waste of your time. Every second you do that, you should be following up with people that didn't buy from you, contacting your obs to check in to say hi, greeting people the moment they walk through the door. You should be moving your business forward instead of being a reactive situation. So the data is necessary. I just don't think you collect healthcare data. You don't collect people business data. And that's a mindset shift I think all of you should make.
Yeah, I love that. I think, one of the things too there is, there's a lot of practice out there that collect all this data on the call, that then they're sending new patient forms, and it's the exact same questions that they just spent, 20 minutes on the phone asking, right? And so as a patient, you sit there and you're like, why am I filling this out? I just answered all this on the phone. So like, that piggybacks that, right? If you're going to get things, but a lot of practices worry that, they're not going to get their forms filled out ahead of time, right? So maybe, Brian, if you could talk about, how to edify that, where what you can do to increase your form fills. And obviously some of that is through technology, but some of that is through verbiage and edification.
Yeah, I think part 1 of that, working backwards, is if you have forms that are analog in any way, so they have to send it, you send it and then they have to print it out, or you mail it to them, or they show up and fill it out on a clipboard. This might sound harsh, but all of you deserve for them not to fill it out. That's how I believe. Like that is like, you deserve it. And that goes back to, the success and failure slide, is that you are making a business decision to showcase that you look like 1980. That's your choice. You are making that choice. So if they don't fill it out, I wouldn't either, right? I would go to another practice that's digital. So your contracts and your new patient paperwork, they have to be digital. But there's a way to overcome, even if you are analog, but the receptionist has to sell it. And the 2 podcasts I showed you tonight, the framing effect and then that receptionist new treatment coordinator, dives into this a lot, both of them. And I think especially the framing effect this is how you do it now. And if I bring up 10 receptionists on stage and I say, here's the scenario, respond to it. They all respond to it. And then I pull up my next slide that has what I knew they were going to say. Like that's how, I don't want to say bad because I'm not trying to insult anybody. That's not the case, but it's from lack of coaching. And then you showcase this way and you say, Mrs. Jones, look, I know you've been asked to fill out paperwork before. You probably thought it was a total waste of time. Like, who's going to read it, right? And this is where it's being conversational, right? This is part of heavy role plays to get to a point of what I'm about to say. So, Mrs. Jones, I know you've been asked to fill out paperwork before. I'm sure you probably think it's a waste of time. You fill stuff out, nobody pays attention to it. But I want you to know that we're different here, right? We're digital. So what I'm going to send you, you can fill it out right on your phone. It's our commitment to excellence and being ahead of the time. So it's going to be simple and convenient for you. But a couple important things I want you to know. 1, When we get that paperwork back, we're going to sit down as a team. We're going to study it, and we're going to offer a personalized experience for you and your family that you deserve, right? We're going to know everything so you don't have to repeat yourself. 2, we respect your time. So make sure to get that insurance information and everything accurately completed, because here's what we're going to do with it. We're going to get your insurance verified early, and we're going to have our TC send you a personalized welcome video introducing herself that's going to go over that coverage. That way you can talk with your spouse and you can come prepared for your first visit, right? And if you have any questions, you can even call us and we're happy to answer it. Do I have your commitment, Mrs. Jones, to get that done tonight or first thing in the morning? And what I just finished that on, everyone's called a commitment question. There's a lot of psychology around if you get them to commit to saying yes, you have not a guaranteed, but again, it's playing the numbers. You have an increased chance that they'll go and do it. But what I just did there is I sold the value on why she should give a damn about filling out the paperwork. You have to give it in a way that this is how it benefits you. And if you do it, here's how we're different. And then with the greeting, so this again, the story, whenever you greet people when they walk through the door, you better darn well VIP greet them and showcase to them immediately that you read their paperwork. As an example, like OrthoFi users, the cheat sheet goes very underutilized. So if the cheat sheet shows that Joey sings in choir or plays soccer, when they walk through your door, your concierge better damn well go, Mrs. Jones, hey, welcome to the family. And Joey, hey, kiddo, welcome to the family. I have a gift for you. And hey, dude, you know, we saw you played soccer. We just looked at it this morning and that's so cool. Let me take you on a tour and you can tell me all about it. We have tons of patients that play soccer here. Now, what did you just do? You just immediately showcased to the patient that you actually read their paperwork, which the receptionist just edified and promised that you would. And this is why it's all a people business showcase. It's a choreographed salesmanship thing that New Patient Group does from A to Z that makes it easier for you and blows the patient away at the same time. And that's how you do it. But you have to sell the value on why they should give a damn to fill out your paperwork, because all of you know right now, you probably don't read it. You have to ask yourself, do you even read it and showcase to the patient you read it? And for most of you, the answer is no. And that's why they don't fill it out. They don't see any value in it. And because they're scheduling it upwards of 3 practices, they've already filled out 2 other people's. So they're like, oh crap, here we go again. Right? You have to put your mind in their mind, and therefore you got to sell it.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much. I know we're a little bit longer than we had planned on going tonight, but this is, it's some great questions at the end there. So, thank you all for being here with us tonight. We are recording this, so we'll send out a recording, over the next couple of days once we get it kind of cut down, edited, and posted. So, keep an eye on your email. We'll make sure to email that out for you. You can share it with your teams. If they're not able to attend tonight, they can, watch this later as a resource. And, if you have any questions, shoot us an email, info@wrightchat.com. Whether it's for, New Patient Group or WrightChat, we're happy to help answer, any questions you have. And, hopefully we can get you all to commit to having, your best 2024, your best year yet in 2024. We really appreciate you being here again with us tonight. And, Brian, thank you so much. This was awesome. We appreciate you guys. We're in round number 2 in the next couple months. So keep your eyes out for more people. If you have ideas, shoot us a note. We're always looking for content ideas. So thank you all. Hope you enjoyed it and appreciate you.
Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.